This video will present the simple historical account of biblical creation as contained in the Bible in the first chapter of the book of Genesis, the beginning of the Bible. And in this story in Genesis, that God basically makes the universe and all living species within it during a time span of 6 days. And it's important to realize that biblical creation is history. It's an historical account of life on earth. It is definitely not a science. And we'll see more details in the videos that follow this, where there is scientific backing for this history, but not scientific proof for the science of biblical creation, because in my view, it is not a science. There's nothing contained in the first chapter of Genesis that hints of the methods and the ways and the how of the creation that happened. It's just merely a historical report. And this video is going to be brief because it really is just a brief thing. There's no scientific details I can go into, as I did for evolution theory and evolution proof. Though the videos that will follow this will demonstrate, as I said, scientific backing, scientific support that show that this history of biblical creation is pretty likely true. Now, the creation narrative basically shows that the entire universe and everything in it was created in 6 days. And I have a star opposite all of these mentions of the word day, because later on, when you look at the cosmic background radiation clock video, you will see that these days are not 6 Earth clock days, but they are 6 days measured on the cosmic background radiation. This clock, this is pure science. This is not something made up, and you'll see later details on that. But basically, the story is that everything, including the universe, was created in 6 total days. Now, in terms of plants and that were created, they were created during biblical creation days 3 and 4. So there are only plants living during that period of time. And then on day 5, there were water creatures created, birds were created, and then finally on day 6, land animals and man were created during that final day of creation. So there's a chronology, historical chronology. There are events, plants being created, water creatures, birds, land animals, and man. And we will see later on that there's an opportunity here to look at the fossil record that we've already seen relative to problems with the fossil record in evolution theory. And there is an opportunity here to look at the fossil record and see if it supports this sequence, at the very least, of creative acts. So here's a little bit different view of days 1 and 2, where the only thing that happened was this major creation of the universe. And you'll see opposite each day a reference to the part of Genesis that documents what happened during these days. I won't go through all of these creative acts. You can just look at this picture, and I recommend, whether you're a religious person, whether you're Jewish, a Christian, or not interested in religion at all, I would recommend that you pick up a Bible and read the first chapter of Genesis. You need not read anywhere beyond that. Just read it, but read it as history, and read it to see if you see any science in there. I don't think you will see any science. I think you will just see history. And so, as I indicated in the introduction video, right now, I believe that if there is combat or contention between evolution theory and biblical creation, it is not on the scientific battlefield. It is on the historical account in biblical creation and the scientific account that is evolution theory. Now, even though biblical creation is history and is not a science, there are still some implications that we can perceive from this creation history as it is reported. First of these is that since the biblical creation reports the special creation of individual types of plants and animals at various times, the implication is that there should be no missing link fossils ever found. There should be no transition from a plant to some other animal. Instead, these special creative acts which occurred would be independent of one another. And so that's something that already you've seen if you looked at the videos on evolution theory, that no missing link fossils have been found. So that's a positive for the historical account of biblical creation. It gets a little bit further into the details here, and you will see this later if you look through the biblical part of the remaining videos, which contain some explanation of the cosmic background radiation clock. And that gives timing to the biblical creation history. And we will see when we look at the timing of it that there are no animal fossils that should be found before Cambrian times. If you went through the Proof for Evolution video, you found that their evolutionists are looking for these animal fossils because they need a slow progression of animals instead of this Cambrian explosion. But we will see quantitatively that the history of biblical creation predicts that there should not be any animal fossils found until Cambrian times. And so that's a very important thing that will give scientific support for biblical creation history. And finally, this question of complex organs that we've been through. Again, hopefully you've seen the prior videos and know what that means, but it's a part of a being so complex that it couldn't evolve slowly. And the biblical explanation for complex organs is not a science, again, historical, that they were created by God. God made these various types of species of plants and animals and man and created the organs within them. Now, basically, this has been a short video on biblical creation. All the rest of the videos that you will see here until the final conclusions video will flesh out some of these concepts and will show you that indeed there's a lot of scientific support for biblical creation, which is history. So there's scientific support for history. And the biblical story in the first chapter of Genesis says that the creation of living beings took just 4 days to complete. And again, those 4 days will not be 4 Earth-length days. They will be 4 cosmic clock days. And that is straight science, no fudging, no making things fit. We'll see that that's a very interesting development from the science word to support the history that we see. And again, there's a definite sequence of beings that were created in the historical account of Genesis. And we're going to compare that to the fossil records, and you will see that there is quite good, maybe astoundingly good, comparison with the fossil records in terms of the historical account that Genesis predicts.